You're listening to the Deal Closers podcast, brought to you by websiteclosers.com, a show about how to build your e-commerce business to be profitable, scalable, and one day even sellable. I'm Isaac Porter, and on the show today, the CEO of Skafos, Michael Prichard, joins us to talk about product recommendations on your e-commerce website. It's really a simple concept. People want to buy things that other people have already purchased and that they like. It's like word of mouth marketing, but on the internet. Good recommendations for a product mean more people will buy, and a bad review means the product might flop. But here's the thing. As an e-commerce business, you almost certainly need to have product recommendations available because of these following statistics. 54% of retailers reported product recommendations as the key driver of the average order value in the customer purchase. 73% of customers are more likely to buy based on personalized recommendations. 37% of shoppers that clicked on a recommendation during their first visit returned, compared with just 19% of shoppers that didn't click on a recommendation. So as an e-commerce company, how do we leverage product recommendations to maximize conversions and order size? Let's find out from Michael Prichard. Hey, Michael, how's it going today?
It's going fantastic, Isaac. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on the show. Really
Absolutely.
Glad to have you. So look, I speak with a lot of e-commerce business owners that are thinking about how to sell their business, getting ready to sell their business, and this concept of increasing conversion rate, increasing AOV, increasing customer lifetime value. It's like top of mind for all of these companies. And, the feedback I hear pretty regularly is that the tools that are available, kind of Shopify generic tools, just aren't really cutting it. And so when I learned about Skafos, I was really excited because it sounds like you're doing some things just very different and much more intelligently than how it's been done in the past. Can you just give us a little overview of what your company does and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we're on a mission to help shoppers find the products they want in a more delightful way. And we do it through simply by asking the customer if they like something or if they don't like something. Very much like what you'd find in other social media type of paradigms, on say Facebook and whatnot, or even Tinder, right? We've been called the Tinder of Shopping, which is an internal joke, which we'll talk about another time.
Okay.
Here, swipe right, swipe left, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, what we're solving is not only are we personalizing the shopping experience for customers using traditional recommendation kind of algorithms, we're also using interactions from them to really understand context, as to why they're there. Because one of the challenges, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, is that while product recommendations work, especially on say past products that have maybe been sold or lookalike kind of audiences and things like that, as you know, privacy is becoming a much bigger topic
Right.
in the world in general, not only with online commerce. People are individuals. People want agency. They want to control their journeys, etc. With all of that, it's much harder for traditional recommendation systems to work. And our special sauce is that we basically use behavior and interactions to quickly surface up products that someone may want, which is actually a very simple concept that no one else is doing except for us and Amazon. Actually,
no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So consumers you said it's interacts kind of like a like a social media site. So comes to mind thumbs up, thumbs down, smiley face emojis, that kind of
I mean, thumbs up, thumbs down, or more like this, less like this. Something that's been working really well is it within the PLP. A PLP is a listing page. So for the Shopify folks on the I was gonna say on the phone, for the Shopify folks on the podcast, product listing page, like adding a little see similar button that in real time resorts the page, so to speak, or you can drop in a more like this or less like this or not my style within a rec slot on the PDP, for example. Very, very simple approach of kind of making the experience more dynamic. is what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as competition increases, empowering founders and owners of these companies to be smarter and get
Right.
better interactions with their customers is it's good for the customers, which supports the brand, which drives the value for the owner. So hey, so going back to some of the statistics I mentioned kind of at the beginning, driving average order value and customer purchase, more likely to buy, more likely to return.
Right.
Are you what statistics are you seeing that kind of matter in the space? What do you focus on as you think about how Skafos is interacting with your customers?
Right. So I can only speak from what we're seeing in the market. I mean, you can find stats, in general. Obviously, you quoted a few. I mean, another one is that 35% of Amazon's revenue comes from personalized a recommendation, actually, which is pretty huge. What we're finding right now is a couple things. One, when people interact or when people are given agency, or at least asked, hey, am I being the merchant on the right track, right? That conversion rates will jump by 100%. So,
No kidding.
yeah, it's pretty wild. So we had one customer that deployed an earlier version of one of our solutions called Product Finder, and they jumped 105%. It's a jewelry company, actually out of Australia, who's like my favorite place right now because we seem to be very popular there. We're world famous in Australia, by the way.
Nice.
105% increase of CVR. And they did, I think, 85% on revenue per visit. So basically, more folks bought when they visited versus not using our platform, et cetera. One thing we did notice, actually, which you talked about AOV, which is the average order value, right?
Yep.
And so there's average order value, there's a lifetime value. All those are very important. We did notice I'm very open with everyone. We're figuring some of this stuff out, we're as we're doing this, that even though we drove higher conversion rates and revenue per visit, average order value sometimes went down. And we've been trying to figure out, what's happening there. And either we're getting people to products much faster than they would originally, or maybe we need to expose some of the higher end sort of products within the recommendations, which is something we're working on right now. But when you cut it back and you look at it from a point of view, look, I'm converting more, I'm driving more revenue per visit, the lifetime value of that customer is going to be higher. So maybe AOV is not quite always the thing I want to be paying attention to. It's like, are they coming back and are they buying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of the question I was getting to. I think that's a great point, right? Is that, what is the statistic that matters, and are you able to drive that? It sounds like LTV, I think, for me is critically important, because a returning customer you don't have to pay to acquire twice typically.
Yeah, and that's something we're actually working on with another customer of ours called Moore and Giles. They are a leather company. So they supply, if you ever bought a leather couch from Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware, or ridden a jet, which I have not, with leather seats, it most likely came from them. They also have an e-commerce site that does, bags, various accessory products to go with that. And we've noticed that, if we can get someone, obviously the first sale is obviously big, but the first to second sale is really hard. And if we get them to a second sale, third and fourth sales are much easier. So so how do we do that? And that's by quickly understanding context, understanding why the person's there, what they truly like. We may not know exactly why they like it. We just know they like certain shapes or textures or whatever. And then being able to kind of feed them, or suggest to them, actually I should say feed them. It sounds horrible. Suggest to them products that either may go along really well with what they're doing, or maybe, we try to capture them in the moment, so to speak. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of huge wins, is because we can understand a lot better than traditional personalization systems, which in my opinion are very generalized and very static. And honestly, past behavior doesn't dictate future behavior. People are people. So yeah.
So the Skafos weighted similarity algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How does that kind of fit into making, bringing all these concepts to life?
Yeah, that's top secret. I'm kidding. So
I
we can't talk. We gotta bleep that out.
want you to spill the beans on our show,
Yeah,
man.
no,
Our
no.
listeners want to
So
know.
it's so look like so basically what we do is here's the beautiful part about Skafos is that we don't need to know a lot of data like about your customer, right? We don't need to have a lot of history. Now, if you have history like past order data and things like that, great, we can take that into our system. But all we need is a catalog. And once we get the catalog, which is really, not a hard thing to do,
Right.
we have a series of machine learning models, and I'm going to say, AI models, which we can get into, that we train. So we train a variety of, say, object detection models on the images, right? We train a series of similarity models, on the images, on the metadata, which includes like the description, price, the titles, things like that. We train off of like if we get past order data, things like that. So we basically create a series of models, and our special sauce is the way we kind of string those models together in a weighted system. So as you start to interact with our platform, our I'm gonna say AI for lack of a better description, and those data scientists can yell at me later, but like our AI will start to automatically weight different pieces of those models based on how people are interacting, right? So we're, I don't get too technical, but we're not. I wouldn't even consider it a recommendation system as more of a search system. Like we because when you make a request to our platform, it's really making a search request. It's like, hey, here's the input of the search. Give me back what I'm asking for, and then based on this, as many times as you start to search with us, we just refine the results. Does that make sense? I mean, that's really how we work.
So the search keeps getting smarter and smarter.
Yeah, we're sorting and
the
search
information you're sharing.
Yeah, we're sorting a search company that basically happens to bring it up in an interactive UX, right? Which is like a like and dislike and things like that. So that's what makes us unique.
Got it. So I think we've all heard about companies that manipulate reviews. Is that a problem that you see across the industry? And how does that kind of play into what you're working on?
It's kind of interesting you say that because like we do we do integrate out of the box with right now with Yotpo and with Luke's, and we're about to release Stamped and oh my gosh, I forget the other one we're about to release, but we've started to add that as part of our weighted similarity algorithm, but it's not that big of an effect right now. So I mean, to be honest with you, I think reviews are hugely important. I think you should definitely have them on your site. People do use them. We're all consumers. We're all shoppers, right? So, we do use them. I use them.
I do too. Yeah.
So I think you definitely need to have them. I would make sure that you don't fake them. Like, do not if you get the call from, like, for example, we have a Shopify app in the App Store, and we get maybe, I don't know, let's just say monthly, get hit up by somebody's like, I have a review service. I'll get you 5,000 reviews, for $5 or whatever. And like that is the worst thing you could do. Cause it's, people know if it's real or not. So I would definitely work on a post-purchase, what do you call it? Post-purchase series or workflow that encourages like Isaac to give me a review, right?
Yeah.
You want real reviews. So I think if you can get real reviews and don't get caught in the trap of getting fake ones, which some people do, let's admit it, they're going to work very well. I guess the short answer is like people aren't dumb. So
yeah, right. We've all read reviews where you're like, that's not a real review.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that's like that's someone got paid. I mean, so reviews are important. I actually want to talk about one thing actually, and I'm not sure what the next question is, so I apologize. But back to like data that we've seen, which I think is really interesting. Is that I'm not sure if we're like taught this, like getting no, like the word no, or people seem to like have an adverse reaction to like, oh, I don't want my customer to tell me no. I don't want to hear no, right? But what's interesting is in our data, especially with our product finder solution, we found that when someone says no, like not my style or don't show me this, that the conversion rate jumped 3x. Like one customer we were hitting 2 to 3% on just regular conversion rate. When people said no, when they removed those items from the sorting and the search in that particular recommendation, it jumped to 6%. Like, it was crazy. We've seen it happen over and over. And so we started thinking about, why is that happening? And so, I have actually a blog post on this called The Power of No. And the theory we have is twofold. One, have you ever read Chris Voss's book, The Never Split the Difference? Which
No,
I recommend everybody reads.
Check it out. Thanks.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I hate reading. I know it's gonna sound horrible to people. I do read, obviously, or maybe
you read Chris Voss's book, right?
But I read Chris Voss's book,
Yeah.
Because it was great, right? It was a good book. It wasn't like that typical business book that's like you can read it in 20 pages and then like 380 pages of crap. Like, you're like, okay, this is not, you're wasting my time right now. His book actually is legit. So basically, he's an ex-FBI negotiator. So this guy was negotiating people's lives, right? And they would purposely ask questions to get the person on the other side of the table to say no. Why? Because they gave them a perceived sort of a perception of control, right? So all of a sudden, if I say, like, I don't want to see this particular pant, for example, it's psychologically setting me up to to have control, which is what people want. People want agency. I want agency, right?
Interesting. So I say I don't want to see these pants, and then all the pants I see after that, I'm like, oh, these are the pants that I want to see.
Like, I don't want to see.
I said I didn't want to see the blue pants, and now I'm seeing black pants.
You're liking the one with the polka dots. So like, I don't want to see the one with the polka dots kind of thing. So that's one theory, and the other one I think is happening, especially in larger catalogs, is what's Hicks Law, which is I'm going to paraphrase it the best I can. It's basically, the more choices you give someone, the longer it takes for them to make a decision, kind of thing, right? Yeah. And so, like, as you start to remove choices, you're helping kind of narrow down someone's decision-making process, which is why we think giving people those kind of opportunities increases conversion by 3x is huge, right?
Huge, yeah.
And so that's something else that we've noticed, and we've been at it for, technically for 2 years, but really still learning and still kind of fine tuning. And those are some of the things we're seeing right now. So I don't think that, back to your original part, I don't think there's anything saying that recommendations don't work. I mean, recommendations do work 100%.
Yeah.
But it's time to evolve those. It's time to we have the technology to make it better. And, and everybody, and this is the part that gives me, like, this is my pet peeve, by the way, is that every site I see, for the most part, follows the same structure, the same paradigm. It's like, let's give them a list of infinite scroll of products to look at. Let's give them, a filtering mechanism, which is like a bunch of check boxes of terms that I actually may not even understand. Like, it's a merchandiser text thing, or I'm being thrown some kind of recommender that has no idea who I am and why I'm there. It's just a very frustrating experience. And what am I going to do as a consumer? I'm going to go to Amazon because it's easy. And I think that's where the opportunity is for e-com, is for folks to kind of step out of that and say, look, we want to create a better experience. And how are we going to do that? We're going to engage our customer, almost like in store. Like, you don't walk into a store and then get forced down aisle 1, aisle 2, aisle 3, aisles, whatever. You can roam around the way you want. You can go talk to a sales associate, ask them questions. They're going to say, do you like this or don't like that? Like, that's what Skafos is trying to do. We're trying to recreate a more human experience.
Makes total sense. It really does make sense. You just putting people in control more of their shopping experience.
Right.
We just got to convert that into the metaverse, and we can all go virtual shopping in a real mall.
That's funny you say that. We are working on some things in that world, but we won't talk about that. We'll talk about the next deal closers.
Okay. Yeah. That'll be the next show, man. That's
next
coming
show,
for
yeah.
Sure. So we touched on kind of AOV and LTV.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk a little bit about bundling. How does bundling kind of affect sales and play into what you're
that's actually huge, actually. And we're starting to touch that right now. So we're starting to kind of release a few more solutions. We got caught up, to be completely honest with you. Our first solutions off our platform were a little bit hard for shoppers to understand what the heck was going on, right? And we've learned from that. And now we're like doing things like we're we call it Skafos. I can't even say the word Skafosify. Like we're Skafosify. Oh my God, I'm gonna stop saying that. We're trying to make things more Skafos. And so like we're traditional recommender, add Skafos to it. Yes, because I can't say it, but edit it in for me. Just overdub you saying it when I say it. So then we did the PLP. We added some Skafos to it. Now we're working on featured products, bundled products, and adding Skafos to it. But at the core, your core question is like, do bundles work? The answer is like, yes, they do work, right? And so, but I think a lot of that could be done, without AI. You can bundle. I think a lot of merchants know what their products are. They can start there, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we do now. So we're offering people the ability to like sort of create a bundled product kind of recommender on their homepage or wherever they want it. But then what we're doing is giving agency, again, giving that button to get people interactive. So yeah, I mean, 100% work. It works. And it's pleasant. I hate pop-ups. Don't get me started with pop-ups. Now I'm thinking about things that work, and pop-ups do work, but I hate them as a consumer. Just FYI, everybody.
Yeah. What do you hate about pop-ups?
What I hate about them, and again, I'm not in this business, and what I hate about them is like I get to sites. It's again, everyone's doing the same thing. Like what makes why would IsaacPorters.com e-com site be any different than MichaelPrichard.com site if we do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And so like you go to a site, and within I'm gonna say 1 to 10 seconds, I get a pop up that's either like, hey, let me give you a discount. Which is like, well, hold up. Now all of a sudden you're discounting. Like, what's wrong with you guys? I haven't even looked at the damn site yet. Like, chill out. Or you're giving that spinny wheel. Again, I get why you're doing it.
The spinny wheel. Yeah, I do hate the spinny wheel.
I hate it, but guess
it's
what?
It's always 15%.
So exactly. I was on like we're on all the Slack channels, like the Slack channels. We're on the Shopify partners and all that stuff, or DDC, FAM, whatever. And I remember saying like, why the hell are people using pop-ups? They're horrible. And then like the people selling pop-ups are like, you know what? We know they're horrible. I probably shouldn't say this on a podcast, but they're like, well, we don't care because it works. So it does work, right? Yeah. Everyone hates them, but it works. But then it's like, I start thinking about like, well, I don't know. Can we do something better? Maybe offer a better experience. Let me at least look at the site before you start popping me up with you don't need to give me a sale right away, because now I'm expecting it. I'll be honest with you. I go to sites and I wait. I'm like, oh, let's see if I get 10% off.
Yeah. Well, here's kind of to bring that full circle back into kind of the M&A aspect.
Yeah.
That I focus on. What I've seen in e-commerce and tech business sales is that the brands that can actually identify as a brand and create a customer experience that is differentiated somehow, get rewarded enormously at the time when they sell their business. In other words, if you can execute on the concepts you're talking about, it creates real value. Not only does it improve the financial results of your company, but it creates more value for your company. The multiple on that business will be higher than a similar business that doesn't do it as well.
Right. I mean, it's I think it's like pretty much any business, right? Like it's like, well, one, the cost of acquisition to get a customer is getting way higher. So your return on ad spend is going lower, right? Mm-hmm. Therefore, you need to figure out, how do I, capture that customer, not just to sell them one time, back to your point, but to keep them a lifelong customer, right? As long as possible. And to do that, you need to create a brand story and experience. Essentially, you need loyal. I mean, I'm loyal to certain brands, 100%. And I'm loyal to them because one, I do. You got to have a good product. Don't get me wrong. You can have like crap products, but like you have to have a good product. But then you have to have a good experience. It's like, I don't know. I mean, the probably the first ones to really do that are like, Patagonia, right? Like, I mean, like, dear Lord, like people like live and die in Patagonia because they've created this amazing experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. And if you can even just replicate a little slice of that Patagonia brand loyalty,
it's over.
You can create huge value.
Yeah. And why sell it then? Right. If it's making money, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. Well, there's reasons for both sides, but so what are some success stories that you can share?
I mean, I started out with like, the Australian jewelry company. We dropped Product Finder initially into their their front end, and they're the ones that hit like I think it was 105%. This is in 4 days, by the way. It was crazy. 105% CBR growth, plus 85% RPV, which was insane. We have done another Moore and Giles is another great one. I mean, we originally started with just a traditional recommender, and we looked at the data. When was it? Like earlier this year, we went down there. They're in Lynchburg, Virginia, by the way. They're a great company. I love them. Like they have amazing products. They're actually good people. So mooreandgiles.com. I'm going to pitch them right now. mooreandgiles.com. You should go check them out. They're just good people. But we like looked up the stats, and we went in the meeting. We didn't even look at the stats. Like we're just like, just pull them up. Let's see what happens. And then like it was like I forgot. It was like insane. It was like 7% conversion rates when people were interacting. So like it's pretty wild that it's work. It works for the most part. Sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, like we've also seen with Michael Hill, who we're continuing to work with right now. We ran different tests, and we did see higher conversions and things like that. But AOV was dropping, so now we're trying to figure that out. But we still know that people are that it does work, and we're just fine tuning it. I guess the best way I can. I'm not gonna lie to people. I mean, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. You're gonna have the best thing ever. But it's like everybody says the same crap. It's like at the end of the day, it's like look, we have to work with you, and we need some time to tune it, right? Because you have different products, different customers, and we know it works if it's done right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Michael, how can our listeners connect with you and Skafos?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Skafos.ai is our domain. I'm at Michael at Skafos.ai. You can hit me up. I mean, should I give you my phone number? I don't know if that's even proper. No, I can't. I'm being told no. So you can't call me, but you can email me. You can go to hello@Skafos.ai. You can go on our Twitter. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Apparently, I've never been on it. And Facebook. Just search for Skafos.ai and talk to us.
That was Michael Prichard. You can find him at Skafos.ai. That's Skafos.ai. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Deal Closers podcast, brought to you by websiteclosers.com. If you like the show, be sure to rate us, write a review, press the follow button, and share it with your network. And of course, if you're looking for help selling your e-commerce business, be sure to visit websiteclosers.com. This episode was edited and produced by Earfluence. I'm Isaac Porter. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and we'll see you next time on the Deal Closers podcast.